Hi everyone, welcome to the 2020 National Awards for Disability Leadership. I'm an autistic author, presenter, mentor, community leader, and I'm your MC for today. The National Awards for Disability Leadership acknowledge that we're coming to you from the lands of the Ngunnawal people. Acknowledging First Nations peoples across Australia in the many places people are watching today. These awards are devised and run by disabled people. The 7 categories have meaning to us, our community, the work that we do, and the ways that we work. This webcast is going out to watch parties all over Australia. Welcome to everyone who is watching today. In the 3rd year of the National Awards for Disability Leadership, we have once again had a huge number of nominations. Thanks to the disability community for supporting these awards. In 2020, we're acknowledging the work undertaken to support our community through the pandemic, bushfires, and other major disasters. And we also have the Royal Commission. So we have asked for nominations that focused on work done to support the disability community through these challenging times. Okay, everybody, it's time to start giving out awards. Our first category is the arts.
We're doing the arts category first this year because the National Disability Arts Awards are starting at 2 p.m. So we want to make sure our creatives communities don't have a clash.
The arts category is for work advancing the status of disabled people through artistic expression. In 2020, that has meant a particular ability to pivot if many creatives were unable to do their usual work or tour or perform live. In 2020, for the arts category, we are acknowledging the following recipients. Firstly, Dan Graham.
Dan Graham is a trained theatre director and disability advocate. In 2018, Dan was chosen for the Future Leaders Program with the Australia Council for the Arts and serves as co-chair of the MEAA's Artists with a Disability Committee. Dan's enthusiasm for empowering artists with a disability is contagious. As both a neurodivergent and queer-identifying man, he is passionate about amplifying ideas and perspectives that might otherwise be overlooked. He has been instrumental in assisting organisations to become more accessible to the disability community during the pandemic and to adopt ongoing practices which address disability rights.
I'm Dan Graham. I would like to thank the Disability Leadership Institute and Christina for this opportunity to thank everyone for this nomination. This nomination means a lot to me, but as I said to someone the other day, this nomination is not about me or for me. More so, it's for those like me who wish to have a career in performing arts with a disability. And my hope is that us as a community can be given the equal opportunities that others have in this industry. So that's what I hope, and yeah.
In 2020, we are also acknowledging Brendan Borrellini.
Brendan Borrellini is the ambassador and artist in residence at Crossroads Arts, where he has been performing for close to a decade. As Crossroads Arts ambassador and artist in residence, he has also travelled to Japan and the United States, where he exhibited his 2D and 3D photographic works. Unable to travel in 2020, his continued leadership and advocacy for inclusion and access in Mackay and beyond has influenced other arts organisations, council and businesses to adopt initiatives that will ensure the whole community can benefit. Through his work with Crossroads Arts, Brendan has represented regional inclusive arts practices nationally and internationally.
Everyone, and thank you for this National Disability Leadership Award. It is important for people with disabilities to make art because they are able to share their stories from their lives and experiences. Living in a regional area like Mackay is different from the city because we do not have as many opportunities to make art and there is not the same funding available. Luckily, I have the team at Crossroads Arts and we all work together to make more art. Regional areas also have less social networks, so that makes it hard to communicate with people. I have gained a lot of experience making art in Mackay with Crossroads Arts over the last 10 years, and I am very thankful for that. Thank you for this award. It has made me feel more confident in the art that I make. Hello everyone.
Congratulations to Dan Graham and Brendan Borrellini on your award. Our next category is change making. Change Making Award recognises achieving lasting change to the status quo, policy, programs and legislation, which results in greater equality for disabled people. The 2020 Change Making Award recipient is Julie Leblinsk.
Julie Leblinsk is an accomplished self-advocate with intellectual disability. Her lived experience, knowledge and skills are critical in revising courses, delivering guest lectures and co-producing research at UNSW Sydney, thereby contributing to inclusive research and education, nationally and internationally, ensuring the voice of people with intellectual disability is heard. Her work has contributed to evidence put before the Disability Royal Commission earlier this year, ensuring that self-advocates have been heard.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm the Self-Advocacy Coordinator for Self-Advocacy Sydney. What this award means. Self-advocacy and being a self-advocate is my life. I have achieved more than I thought that I ever would. I have been supported from SAS to develop skills so that I can speak up for myself. I am passionate about speaking up about the rights of people with intellectual disabilities. People with intellectual disabilities find it hard or a challenge to speak up and not always taken seriously or being heard. I am passionate about doing this so people will be able to speak up for themselves. I'm also passionate about wanting society to change for the better in understanding people with disabilities, especially people with intellectual disabilities, so that people in the community can see us learn, make changes, speak up, being heard, working with others to change attitudes and feel like we belong in society. Being first nominated a finalist under this award for 2020, I am so proud to receive this award. I'm also proud of the CEO, the executive board members and staff in acknowledging me and the work that I do. Finally, thanks goes to AFA, Professor Eva Maria and Professor Trevor Parmenter for nomination of this award.
Congratulations, Julie. Our next category is social impact. The Social Impact Award recognises the use of the public domain through mainstream social media or other digital interfaces to achieve visibility of disabled people. 2020 has illustrated how innovative disabled people are in using social media to raise awareness about disability and issues of importance to the disability community. The finalists for the Social Impact Award are Aki No, James Griffiths, Lauren Watson, Ricky Buchanan and Tim Chan. In 2020, the judges have decided that all the National Award for Disability and Leadership in Social Impact will be awarded to all finalists in recognition of the importance of raising awareness of the lives of disabled people during emergencies and crisis situations. Congratulations. Aki No.
Aki is a dedicated and fierce advocate for all people with disabilities, chronic illness and chronic pain. Aki, a person of colour from a migrant refugee background who is also non-binary and LGBTIQ+. Aki believes in equality and is an intersectional feminist who is dedicated to human rights. Aki has regularly contributed to communications regarding the Disability Royal Commission and COVID, sharing their experiences of how being disabled during COVID-19 has greatly impacted their care and rights.
Hi, I'm Aki, and it's been an absolute honour, privilege and pleasure to have been nominated, but then be named a finalist for the Disability Leader of the Year Award. Has been an absolute pleasure. I've been asked to film a video to talk about what this recognition means to me, and honestly, it means more to me than I can even express. It means that young people, LGBTIQ+, non-binary, marginalised and underrepresented groups, people of colour, they can all be leaders. It means that people with disabilities can be leaders, and they can be recognised for their efforts and passions about the things that they are advocating for and the community that they are working so hard to represent. Growing up in a very strict Asian household, disability and illness, those were things to be ashamed of. Those were things to be hidden. So for me now to be able to be recognised for my disability and all the achievements and all the work and advocacy that I've done over the years, it has been absolutely incredible, and it's a very humbling experience, and it just further pushes me to keep working hard for the community that I'm representing, particularly the chronic pain community. It's a very underrepresented community because it's a mostly invisible illness and condition, and there's a lot of stigma surrounding chronic pain. So I'm super passionate about the work that I do around chronic pain, but also the work that I do within the disability sector for women and children with disabilities, particularly in the violence prevention space. I'm a survivor of violence, and I think that the work that I do is incredibly important because we need representation and we need advocacy and we need support for all people with disabilities, particularly the more disadvantaged and marginalised groups within the disability community. So I'm so grateful for this award, and I'm very humbled by this acknowledgement, and I'm super thankful to the community for recognising the work that I've been doing and the passion and drive that I've had to represent all of the communities that are a part of who I am and all the intersectionalities that represent me and what I'm passionate about. So thank you so much. And it's been an absolute honour and a privilege, particularly in the year of COVID, where there's been so many barriers to advocacy work and working with the community. So to be able to put a spotlight on chronic pain and a spotlight in all the disability sectors that I work in has been an absolute honour and privilege. So I just wanted to thank you all for your support, and my drive is just to continue to work hard and keep going. Thank you so much.
The next recipient for this award is James Griffiths. James Griffiths is an Aboriginal man who is vision impaired and blind. He is a passionate disability self-advocate from the Gippsland region. James has undertaken many years of volunteer work and self-advocacy work to support people who are vision impaired and blind to advocate for themselves and to live their best lives. James shared his story of surviving the bushfires for Daru's Disability and Disaster Resilience Forum. Although the storytelling was difficult and personal, his motivations for sharing his story was to help people to understand the challenges faced by people with disability, particularly those who are blind and vision impaired. As an ongoing resource for change, this video will continue to remind decision makers to leave nobody behind.
Hi, my name is James Griffiths. I'd like to thank the National Disability Awards to be nominated for this award this year. It is a great honour. I don't look for recognition for the work that I do. No, I like to help my community. I like to do it because I like to pay forward. Years ago, I was given a double transplant. So somebody gave me the gift of life, which now I give back and I pay forward. I know what it's like when you're in an emergency, when things are down, when you need to get things done in a hurry. Living in Gippsland, we've had floods, we've had fire, we've had so many different things happen over the last, 12 months. Mm-hmm. So with that, then people need to know that, yes, we need to be spoken to with respect. We need to be shown compassion. We need to be given a little bit of extra time. We don't need to be forgotten.
The next recipient is Lauren Watson.
During this difficult year, Lauren has been honest and open on her social media about her struggles and how isolation may offer a degree of understanding to non-disabled people about what it feels like to live with a disability, not being able to go anywhere or do things that are usually part of a normal life.
Hi, my name is Lauren Watson and I'm an adaptive aerial performer on the Gold Coast in Australia. I'd like to start by saying that I'm incredibly grateful to be recognised for National Awards for Disability Leadership in 2020 for the Social Impact section. I have dedicated the past 8 years online raising awareness for disability rights in the arts and also encouraging studios and venues to start thinking of ways to make their work more accessible to not only experience, but for others to attend fitness, dance, and circus classes by making small changes that impact so many in the community. In 2020, I chose to use the social media platform to raise awareness for the similarities between isolation and what it's like as a person living with a disability. This has received positive feedback and I feel it started to shift and change the way others think about what the word adapt and inclusion really means, especially in the performing arts. To be recognized, I can pave the way for others to follow in the hopes that my leadership will also give those courage to speak up and for their voices to be heard. Thank you.
The next recipient is Ricky Buchanan. Ricky is passionate about disability and chronic illness. Her soapbox interests include people whose disability is caused by chronic illness and those who are homebound and or bedridden like her, two groups of people who are severely misunderstood by the current medical and disability system. During COVID-19, able-bodied people have needed to access medical services and have experienced isolation new to them. Due to her ongoing life experiences and years of advocacy, Ricky Buchanan has been an expert navigating 2020. She has been able to use multiple forms of media to talk about the issues and advocate for keeping accessible services once able-bodied people don't need them anymore. Ricky also gave evidence to the Disability Royal Commission at great personal cost. She has asked us to read this prepared statement on her behalf, as she is still recovering from the work she has undertaken this year.
Ricky says, I'm a very non-traditional leader. I've never sat on a board of directors for any organisation. I've never had a job in the disability sector or any sector. I was twice invited to take a disability leadership course and then had to decline because they couldn't make the course accessible to me. People with disabilities like mine are often leaders, but because we're such atypical and non-traditional leaders, our leadership is usually not recognised by the wider disability community. It means a lot to me to be nominated for this award, and to find myself amongst the finalists is even more amazing. I hope that this is another step towards the disability community recognising a wider range of leaders, people whose leadership takes on different forms and happens in different places to what we traditionally expect. Thank you again.
And the final recipient of this award is Tim Chan. Tim Chan is an autism advocate and a young Chinese Australian, diagnosed with autism at 3 years old, and they have been non-speaking after 14 months of age. Tim has become pivotal to the self-advocacy movement to drive autism to a new level and inclusion. Tim shared his story about life in public housing lockdown in Melbourne for Daru's Disability and Disaster Resilience Forum. While it was difficult and personal to share his story, Tim wanted to help people to understand the challenges faced by people with disabilities, particularly for those with complex communication needs. As an ongoing resource for change, this will continue to remind decision makers to leave nobody behind.
My brand of autism means that I am dealing with a body that is not always in sync with my intentions, so it is very challenging to go through daily life. The pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to routines, on which I rely heavily to manage my constant anxiety, which has skyrocketed. So life is difficult because I miss the connection with people. I suppose this is true for each person, with or without disability. However, because I use non-conventional communication, assisted typing, it's not easy to connect as it takes trained facilitators with whom I have a personal relationship before I can output typing. So I am feeling especially alone and vulnerable.
My name is Sarah Chan. I have a son, Tim, who has severe autism. And we've been in lockdown, which is having an impact on us. And support workers are not really able to maintain their presence in Tim's life. So it's been quite hard for all of us.
My support workers are my friends as well, because they facilitate my type-to-talk communication. It has been lonely. My mum, who I live with, has to take on all the care and supervision of my daily routines and activities. Because she has been without any respite or support, this is taking a heavy toll. Both lack of sleep and anxiety have been the cause of more seizures. I am also afraid of hurting Mum or myself when I have fits, in case I fall onto her, or when she has to physically keep me from falling.
Tim's 25 at the moment. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. He is a non-speaker. He never really achieved speech, despite a lot of early intervention. He's very dependent on me, as you can see, especially in the present condition. He needs that one-to-one supervision and attention, support at all times. So yeah, I'm sort of pretty much a full-time parent, very full-time parent.
Diversity. I think people can be educated to be more aware of differences in neurodiversity. Government has been very ableist in their thinking. They should include disability voices. Find alternatives to incorporate our perspective and listen to us from different viewpoints.
During lockdown, it's very hard to connect with people in face-to-face situations, but hopefully when the pandemic ends, community groups and organizations can provide opportunities for people with disability to come together. And I think it's very important to talk about your experiences with other people who have experienced pretty much similar things. We've become very resilient. COVID-19 is something that we need to go through, of course. But I think with all the experiences of the past, it's built us up, to do that.
Daru, D-A-R.
Congratulations again to Archie No, James Griffiths, Lauren Watson, Ricky Buchanan and Tim Chan. The disability community loses many of our people far too young. We acknowledge those who have fought for our rights. They have done this without expectation of acknowledgement and often at great personal cost. We would particularly like to acknowledge Sue Salthouse.
Sue is a former recipient of the Leslie Hall Award for Lifetime Achievement.
Anne-Marie Smith.
Anne-Marie was not an activist, but has made change, and we will all remember her.
Vince McCormick.
Vincent McCormick was a well-known activist and self-advocate.
And Mark Bagshaw.
Mark Bagshaw is a former recipient of the Leslie Hall Award for Lifetime Achievement.
Growth is a kind of death and a kind of birth. The potato peel laying on the floor, like us, was born from a seed and was propagated to grow. We are merely echoes of what came before. Everything is, isn't it?
Brenda Morellini is the recipient of this year's Arts Award. Our next category is innovation. This category recognises being innovative, working outside the box, developing new systems, technology or tools to achieve outcomes in the status of disabled people. The 2020 recipients of the Innovation Award are Jeff Shaw.
Jeff Shaw is the CEO and founder of GiverCare. Jeff established GiverCare to be a disability provider that empowers people to have choice over their care. Jeff has built 2 programs for the disability community this year: Connecting Couches, which is a virtual accessible activities offered free to Australians of all abilities via Zoom, and Because We Care, deliveries of food packs to people with a disability in our community facing financial hardship due to COVID.
Hi, I'm Jeff Shaw, founder and CEO of disability service provider GiverCare and president of a charity arm, the GiverCare Foundation. The work I've done over the past year has focused on combating social isolation for people living with disability. To be a finalist for the National Awards for Disability Leadership is truly a great honor. I'm grateful to have the support of an incredible team, and being a finalist provides me the opportunity to shine a light on the great work they do behind the scenes that ultimately make me look good. I hope to channel the positive energies from these awards toward the year ahead. Thank you all very much.
The next recipient is Find a Bed is a collective of people, many of them disabled people, who popped up during the catastrophic 2019-20 bushfires and worked extraordinarily quickly and hard to find accommodation, generators, specific toys, disability aids, and more to meet the needs of individuals and families in crisis. Using digital platforms in this way is an innovation to be proud of. At times, the collective grew to 150 people. The model Find a Bed developed for providing support was nimble and flexible in a way other support services failed to be. Find a Bed is a perfect example of the power of disabled people to find solutions in a crisis. A large group of volunteers use their skills, expertise, and online experience to fill individual gaps in support for people in need and bring the community into a big mutual aid project. Congratulations, Jeff Shaw and Find a Bed. Once again, disabled people have shown that we are more innovative and will find solutions to support our community through difficult times, often when mainstream systems fail. Our next category is rights activism. This category is about using human rights mechanisms, including implementing the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, to advance the status of disabled people. The 2020 recipient of the rights activism category is Mark Oakley.
Mark Oakley hails from the East Gippsland region. On 30 December 2019, Mark lost his home and everything he owns in the bushfires. Mark contributed his story for Daru's Disability and Disaster Resilience Forum and for the CFA's Preparing Vulnerable People project. Mark has undertaken significant work to advance the rights of disabled people at a time when he has been living in a caravan that isn't fully accessible. His work will ensure that people with disabilities will be less forgotten in the future.
What did you enjoy about this term?
We loved the whole term, didn't we? It was lots of fun. Is that fun?
Excuse me, I'll just stop that noise.
Lots of really awesome movement and seeing how.
My name's Mark Oakley and we're at Dirty Hollow Creek, Wisely, 20 kilometres east of Bairnsdale.
Ever since we moved out to this block, we've been aware that bushfires and going to be there for us, and that every year we prepare for it. And this year it was different. First a big plume, then all the birds out of the bush started hanging around the back door and squawking and making a noise. We just felt and knew it was time to go. So we packed up our stuff, and a few hours later everything was gone. It just blew through there from the south and melted everything to the ground, apart from our solar system and batteries, which survived.
30 years ago or so, I got Barmah Forest virus, Ross River virus, which gave me fibromyalgia. I had a bit of spinal damage on my neck, upper neck, and some sort of growth in my spine at the bottom, emphysema, and just had a heart attack a couple of years ago.
Mark's challenges are that the access into the caravan is quite difficult, and showering in the caravan and going to the toilet and things like that is quite difficult. When the bushfires first happened and we come back and decided that we wanted to live on the block, we did ask if there are any services out there that could provide us with a portable shower toilet unit. We're into the 8th month now and still no sign of a shower or toilet block.
We've been very fortunate that we've been donated a shed by the Red Gun Church in Bairnsdale. Because of all this red tape and all the hoops you've got to jump through and all the paperwork you've got to do, help from the disability services, we haven't had any. I cannot see why the government organisations couldn't have actually helped us more with Mark's situation.
Psychologically, getting back to my place was a big thing. I just wanted to be back there and give me peace of mind one way or another. And then after that, the amount of paperwork and phone calls and meetings and things becomes confusing as to what you're supposed to actually be doing, and the actual personal need seems to be overrun with furniture and clothes and things. I need a toilet that I can sit down on properly, and a shower that if I fall over I won't break through the glass, or that Jane can wash me and help me. Not getting those facilities makes it rather difficult and a bit more dangerous for me, so I don't shower as much.
COVID has made it a lot more difficult. When the pandemic started, we were living at the caravan park with my mum in her little unit down there, and we weren't quite ready to leave there and go back to the caravan. We hadn't set up a few little things that would make life easy. And then the pandemic started, and then the owners of the caravan park said that we would no longer be able to stay at the caravan park because we weren't a permanent resident, so we had to move into the caravan, and we just had to cope the best way we could. Mark wants to see his last days there eventually, and that's his wish, so that's why we would like to rebuild again.
We're connected to it, and I just can't let it go. We can't let it go.
Daru. Congratulations to Mark Oakley. Our next category is inclusion. The inclusion category recognises work illustrating the intersection of diversity of disabled people by designing processes, systems or programs disability alongside being Indigenous, LGBTIQ+, young, culturally diverse and women. The recipients for the 2020 Inclusion Award are Ramis McRae.
Ramis is a well-known deaf community leader in every sense of the term. He is a deaf Lithuanian Australian who is fluent in 4 different national signed languages, a certified international sign language interpreter, cinematographer and actor, mentor for deaf children and current Auslan lecturer at La Trobe University. Ramis is a role model not only to deaf children and adults, he also demonstrates a can-do attitude in disseminating key messages across multiple social media platforms, particularly during a time of COVID where social platforms have played a pivotal part in increasing awareness around sign language and deaf Aboriginal minorities.
Hi, my name's Ramis McRae. The National Awards for Disability Leadership nomination is truly an inspiration. Whilst I have been involved with various minority groups in the last year or two, undertaking this advocacy work, my aim is to continue this work ongoing. And naturally, it takes more than one person to undertake this type of work. And I'd also like to recognise every other individual who's worked in their space doing similar types of work. So I'd like to thank you for the nomination. I truly do appreciate this honour. Thank you.
And the next recipient of the Inclusion Award is Jodie Barney.
Jodie is a Biri Gubba Orangan deaf woman from Queensland. As a leading Aboriginal disability cultural trainer and consultant, she has worked for over 30 years in the disability space across Australia and internationally. Jodie provides leadership by ensuring that community diversity is in mind from the start. For Indigenous people with disabilities, she has learned 15+ community sign languages, so their voices are heard. Jodie has supported women with disabilities in Asia and Pacific Rim. Not able to travel to community in COVID times, Jodie has been preparing and delivering meals to elders and working to ensure communities in public housing lockdown had communication support.
Hello everyone, I'm Jodie Barney and I would like to firstly acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands across Australia and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. The National Disability Awards have amazing nominees and I'm truly humbled to be in their company for today's event. The recognition from my peers, community and those who nominated me is very much appreciated. We as advocates working during the coronavirus pandemic, that's challenged us all. It's also given me personally the opportunity to deeply connect with those I serve in many ways. We've certainly had to learn how to adapt to the many changes and challenges that this year has given us. First Nations people with disabilities are often marginalised by all the systemic processes that do not engage well in both a disability and a cultural space. I hope that with the recognition of today, that the work in the future will help to eliminate those barriers and we can all work together in reconciliation to ensure that our mob with disabilities can participate share, and continue to enjoy and celebrate being the longest living culture in the world. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ramos McRae and Jodie Barney.
We'd like to take an opportunity to thank our sponsors for 2020, Physical Disability Australia. Thanks so much for your support.
Our final category is the Leslie Hall Award for Lifetime Achievement. Leslie Hall was a long-time activist and advocate for disability rights. She has left a lengthy legacy and was recognised with the naming of this award several years ago. When the old National Disability Awards were abandoned in 2018, we felt it was important to continue to recognise Leslie as a way of sustaining our disability movement history. The Leslie Hall Award for Lifetime Achievement is awarded to an individual who has shown commitment to the disability rights movement and worked over time to achieve significant outcomes for disabled people. The recipient of the 2020 Leslie Hall Award is Elle Gibbs. Elle is our national expert on disability and media. She's an award-winning essayist, online community founder, sophisticated media and comms expert, board member, and our best advocate in the national conversation, published on disability and the environment, NDIS policy, and disability policy history. During 2020's crises, Elle was a media spokesperson for our community. She led her team of disabled workers to be the COVID disability response that the government wasn't providing. Because of her, we had high impact interventions with government. She was a key media spokesperson during the pandemic in print, radio, new media, and an expert witness before our Royal Commission. She led the Disability Mutual Aid Group, which was set up rapidly in March, and has provided accurate and timely information about the pandemic and disability supports right across Australia.
During this difficult year, Elle has also given evidence to the Australian Parliament and developed the live tweeting model that ensures Disability Royal Commission hearings are shared widely so that disabled people know what is happening. Elle's work has been consistently focused on the needs of the disability community, and her energy has often been given when her reserves were low. She is a true giant in our disability rights movement.
Hi everyone. I'm so grateful to be nominated, and it's such a huge honour to be a finalist for the National Disability Leadership Awards. Far too often this year, disabled people have been ignored as we dealt with bushfires, smoke, the pandemic. Our needs have been marginalised or even forgotten. But our community has worked so incredibly hard to help each other, to get information out and to fight to be included. Disabled people have shown that we're incredibly good at solving problems, being adaptable and resilient, and at surviving really hard times. And we've shown how strong we are when we work together. Being a finalist for this award means more than I can say, and I thank everyone who's been involved.
Congratulations, Elle Gibbs. That was our final award for 2020. It's been a year like no other, and disabled people have been in the forefront of making sure that marginalised people were supported, that systems changed to support our community, and they did it with innovation, using social impact and within a rights-based framework. Congratulations to all our recipients today. You have contributed enormous amounts to a more equal world, and we recognise that it has not always been easy. Finally, congratulations to all our recipients, Archie No, Brendan Borrellini, Dan Graham, Find a Badge, James Griffiths, Jess Shaw, Lauren Watson, Ramis McRae, Jodie Barney, Elle Gibbs, Julie Leblinsk, Mark Oakley, Ricky Buchanan and Tim Chan. Well done. Thank you to the many people who have helped make these awards happen, including Yen Perkis, that's me, Christina Ryan.
That's me.
Christina Ryan again, deserves lots of recognition, Megan Hagan. And for Disabled People's Organisations Australia, Damien Griffiths, Karen Fermata, Dwayne Cranfield and Mel Harrison. The National Awards for Disability Leadership are a fully independent production brought to you by Australia's National Disability Representative Organisations and the Disability Leadership Institute. These awards are fully owned, run and funded by disabled people. So that's it. Thank you all and see you in 2021.